Good day to you all. Thank you for being here. As Caroline has said, another productive day will begin today. I would like once more to thank all the presenters and participants of yesterday's workshop day. We had a fabulous experience. And at the end, we have seen that even remote, if this is to be our new reality, we can communicate, we can exchange, we can feel the vibrations of all the presenters and the participants, even like this. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Welcome at the 6th International Conference on Communication and Management and the 2nd Hellenic Conference of Political Science, Communicating in Politics. I would like to personally thank all and each of you who are here today remotely from all these different countries and all these different timelines we have. Also a big thank you to all our academic committee, our endorsers, and our more than 300 great ambassadors from 86 different countries around the world who are spreading our mission, which is to create forums to meet and exchange experiences, and our vision that is that we all understand the importance of sharing, exchanging, co-creating, communicating, and acting for a better future, a better world. Life has been challenging for us all these past 2 years. We yet have the opportunity to discover or rediscover the importance of life. Simple things that we might take for granted proved to be the most important: health, empathy, positivity, authenticity, inspiration, love. It is thanks to all the hard work of our international endorsers, conference leaders, ambassadors, academic and organizing committee that this conference welcomes academics from 15 different countries around the world: Denmark, UK, Israel, Belgium, Portugal, Italy, France, Russia, Canada, USA, Thailand, Germany, Japan, Serbia, Greece, and United Arab Emirates. The conference is organized into 70 sessions that include sessions such as new technology, social media and journalism, cultural and multicultural in a globalized world, and leadership themes. Since the conference is offered remotely, our purpose is to provide many opportunities for interaction and exchange. This is done, among others, via the community exchange sessions with themes such as fake news in the pandemic and political communication and the day after. So we have best wishes from Professor Song Wifa, who asked me to transfer. He's the chair of Research Committee on Political Socialization Education, International Political Science Association. So he had to be hospitalized, so he's excused, but I will read a small paragraph of his great message because it transfers positivity. Against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, your international conference is of even greater academic value and social significance. Scholars from all over the world need to communicate and learn from each other. Communication is the first essence of human survival and development, and also the cornerstone of the development of political science research. I wish to the conference participants and complete success, and the conference organizers, of course. So we thank him a lot. Now, let's briefly outline some important details of our program for the day. We really try and will respect time. Presentations should give the main idea of our research. And we have about 13 to 15 minutes to present each. We keep the questions, if any, at the end of the session. The chairs, if you were selected to be a chair, please remember that the most important is to be able to keep the time. Additionally, you will be given the rights to be a co-host and to lead your session. Of course, we will be always there to help, me and Luis from Paris, who I thank a lot, and he's doing a magnificent job. We will use the chat to write down our questions and interact. We have already begun to do so, so I thank you for this. I invite you to stay and interact throughout the conference. We have many music breaks to relax and stretch. We need this to be able to interact better. You are free to turn off your cameras for short periods, as we all need a bit of privacy sometimes. Nevertheless, I prefer to see your faces and reactions to be able to interact as much as possible. One last thing that we say, and I say always for this conference: prepare yourself to be challenged, excited, and inspired. So, as I have prepared to speak about a paper we prepared in 2020 with Professor Sophie Karanicolas, Vice President of Learning, Innovation and International Relations of the Communication Institute of Greece, that is here today and will make me the honor to co-present in a small part. To tell you the truth, we arranged this 5 minutes before. So she wrote to me and I responded, and I'm so glad that she's able to co-present a little bit with me. So this is a very important theme. We named it Communication Rough Navigation, Fake News in the Time of a Global Crisis. As you can see at the title, we choose Communication Rough Navigation because the first words, we can route the word corona, okay, the virus. The current pandemic of this novel coronavirus has created an environment of diverse challenges facing all the humanity. Such a global crisis gives rise to the manipulation of people by opportunistic groups through the falsification of information and news reporting. Loosely moderated social media platforms have largely contributed to an explosion of news referred to as fake. People's fear, uncertainty, and anxiety about the actual situation is often exploited by groups who think of this crisis as an opportunity to make an economic profit or undermine political and health strategies. Agents of fake news groups are taking advantage of the masses that have become more reliant on social media for news reporting in times of global crisis. In challenging times like this, it is easy to be driven by emotions and lose clarity of critical thought. This paper highlights the importance of building capacity to recognize fake news while seeking out reliable and valid information sources, using examples from Greece and Australia, as both of these countries demonstrated strong government leadership in the swift containment of the virus. So I have prepared a little poll that I would like your participation. The question is, did you ever have the experience of asking yourself whether an information you heard of or have read is fake? Did you ever have the experience of asking yourself whether an information you heard or have read is fake? So we can choose among many times, very often, sometimes, or never. I would like your participation here. So for the moment, we can see a 67% many times, 11% very often, a 22% sometimes, and nobody never. We will wait a little bit for everybody to be able to answer. Did you ever have the experience of asking yourself whether information you heard or have read about is fake? Okay, so most of you, we can see many times. very often, sometimes. So fake news, what we call fake news, is an everyday reality. And I would like to ask you if you can use the chat to answer this. What was your reaction to this? What was your reaction when you understood that an information is not true, is not this that we should share with other people? Did you do something? Did you speak to someone? Did you keep this for yourself? Did you share this information? I'm waiting a little bit for you to be able to interact. So Carl is saying checking fact-checking platforms and initiatives. Begum, I tried to reach different sources for the news on social media. I reached independent media outlets not supported by government. Nate, searching, researching, discussing. Sophia, I investigated further and provided reliable information on my social network. Teerati, check with other news agency via search engine. Assad, using Google to validate the news items. Caroline, I wrote an opinion paper in response. Yes. And Alpida, searching more. The less that we could do is not to share. I mean, if we are not sure that an information is reliable, the best that we could do is not to share. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Public figures were responsible for producing and sharing 20% of fake statements about the new coronavirus. Their post accounted for 69% of the impact to the public through social networks. So this is very important, and Benan 2020 has written about it. COVID-19 related to fake news fell into 3 categories. So the first was misleading health advices. So like drinking chlorine will make the virus disappear, and the anti-vaccine movement and microchipping of vaccines. The second is the origin of the spread of the virus. So USA, China, and other countries, but mostly USA and China. And the third, the severity of the crisis. So photos and video out of context. I have prepared another poll. In which of the categories below have you mostly met a fake story? So we have misleading health advices, like the one we discussed. Drinking chlorine will make the virus disappear. The origin of the spread of the virus, so USA, China, and the severity of the crisis. So which of the 3 categories have you met more misleading information? From what I can see, the misleading health advices take the revenge. The revenge here. So, and the severity of the crisis, a little less. Okay, I think we had the time to answer. So we have 77% misleading health advices. We have seen a lot, and this continues, and the severity of the crisis, 23%. Thank you as well for participating in this poll. the important thing to ask ourselves is, what can we do? How can we react? Fortunately, many reliable international organizations have launched special social media pages and websites to provide information that debunk these fake stories. So now Sophia will speak about the importance of reinforcing the importance of developing critical thinking skills, especially for undergrad students, as a fact-finding strategy to address their rising popularity of misinformation and disinformation found on the social media sites. Sophia?
Thank you, Margarita. Yes, like Margarita said, when we embarked on this project, we were actually quite astounded as to how many, misleading facts and, like Margarita said, fake news was on every single social media platform. And I guess our concern really is that our younger generation, our youth are basically live on the social media network. So even like Instagram and Facebook, you'll find so much information is shared there. So what we thought in our research is that the most important thing that we can do is, number one, raise the awareness of the the strategies that these loosely moderated social media sites use to then get into mainstream social media. But secondly is, how do we equip our youth with the skills that they need to be able to identify whether or not a source is reliable or valid? And then if it isn't, do they have the skills then to go out and find the information that they need to then inform themselves of what is the truth and what is, just based on fake news. So we thought we used this framework that we refer to as the Research Skills Development Framework that was developed by the University of Adelaide. And it was a national project that basically looked at undergraduate courses and how to embed research skills development right from, say, the first year that students come to the university setting. And I guess it's not just for university settings now. I think it's also for vocational education, even as early as primary school, because we know children are getting on social media younger and younger. So we need to basically embed these skills so that we can enable our students to become discerning. And that word is so important in this day and age, I think. So first of all, how do they go out to find the information? How do they then interpret the information? How do they analyze it? And then how do they apply it to their particular situation or to their world experiences? And, I just see how much damage this fake news has done with the adoption of the vaccine, not only just in Australia, but across the world. And, perhaps if we had less sensationalism and more, scientific, valid, evidence-based information, that we wouldn't have had this hysteria that we have now. That's really becoming a huge barrier in getting this adoption of the vaccine. Like we actually needed to get this crisis under control. But, that's just one, that's the pandemic. But there's so much fake news about all sorts of topics, not just the coronavirus. So basically, we thought it was really important that we equip our students right from, even elementary school to be able to become discerning. And I think that's a lifetime learning journey.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I couldn't agree more. And the way you are speaking is from the heart, and the importance of this crucial theme. I think you're right. And even from 6 years old, all the schools and the teachers should start speaking to the students, even not so formally at the beginning, because this is so much important, and kids can understand maybe sometimes more than we adults.
I agree. Thank you, Margarita.
Thank you, thank you. Just to continue a little bit, but after Sophia is difficult because it's amazing. So and I love her so much. Based on the criteria used for evaluation electronic sources on the net, we have the following questions that can easily be adapted to undertake a fact-checking mission of our own. So who is responsible for the site? Is it an organization? Does it have a credible history? Is it generally known? Does it have any political affiliation? Is there an official logo on the site? Is there a link to the homepage that describes the organization and their activities? Are contact details provided? Are the facts and the evidence clearly presented to the reader? Who are the authors of the content? Are they experts in their field? Can you search them to find out their background and affiliations? Do the authors have a conflict of interest? Is the site sponsored by a private company that may provide biased information? So many things to search for. Just to add, sometimes I have contacted Carl, who is an expert here. And when I had an information during the emails I receive, and I asked for Carl 2 and 3 times, and he searched every little information, and I hope he's able to share this knowledge with his students, because this is the most important of all. From a research perspective, Katsaounidou and her co-authors present a browser extension, the True New plugin, that evaluates news authenticity in a multimodal and collaborative way. With this intention, the user can identify relevant information regarding the 5 clues, so title, date, creator, source, and containing images. Additionally, platforms like Facebook have adjusted their content policy in response to COVID-19 by working closely with organizations such as the WHO to help contain the spread of disinformation. Facebook currently partners with fact-checking organizations in 76 countries and regions around the world, notifies the user that have interacted with a fake post, and then reduces the content visibility. So these are positive things that I would like to share with you that we found during our research with Sophia, and this is fabulous. Then we have a 20-year-old student from Larissa, Greece, Valentinos Tsekas, who created a FightHawks.com algorithm with the ability to scan in seconds any kind of information written on the internet, deciding whether it is a misleading news story or real news. Carmichild and Spring 2020 provide some user-friendly guidelines that can assist readers in reflecting on the stories they read on the web to avoid becoming viral distributors of misinformation and disinformation themselves. They ask the readers to stop and think, check the source, could it be fake? Ensure whether it's true, so don't share. Check each fact individually. To finish this talk, we can say that this is a simple strategy that could be adapted. If there is any doubt or uncertainty surrounding a news story, or if emotion is the driver of wanting to share, these stories require further investigation and confirmation because sharing on social media. So please do not share. Okay, great. So now we can start with the next session, and Andreas will take the role of the chairperson here. We were informed that Dr. Haruko is a professor from Japan, is also at the hospital, so he will not present. Do we have Dr. Teerati Banterng from Thailand?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. Yes.
Hello. So I will let Andreas take the role of the leader and maybe speak a little bit, as he's also in the committee. He has helped a lot for this conference, and I thank him from the bottom of my heart as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Margarita. Yes, it is a great pleasure to be here with you for another year. I think that the work that Margarita has done in the last years, it's very impressive. And I think that in the near future, let's hope in 2022, we will be able to meet in person again, because as you all know, it is very difficult. It is very difficult to be in touch through Zoom. We all are very, let's say, tired about the Zoom sessions. But on the other hand, I believe that all those changes that happened during the last 1.5 years, to some degree, they will remain with us. But of course, being able to meet other people is very important. Let's hope that next year we will be able to do all this again together. So this session 6, is entitled Cultural and Multicultural in the Globalized World. My name is Andreas Veglis, and I'm the head of Media Informatics Lab from the School of Journalism and Mass Communication of Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Our only presenter is going to be Dr. Teerati Banterng, lecturer from the National Institute of Development Administration of Thailand. And the title of his paper is Cultural Tourism and Communication for Poverty Alleviation, the case of Thailand's tourist attractions along the Mekong River. Teerati, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andreas. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Margarita. And I'm so excited for this session. Let me share my slide. Okay. My paper is about the cultural tourism and communication for poverty alleviation, the case of Thailand tourist attraction around the Mekong River. This is my research. I finished this research last year, but cannot present because the COVID-19 agenda Thailand as well as the same in Athens. Why we choose this topic? Because currently in Thailand, the development of the tourism area in Thailand, especially the area adjacent to Mekong River, is another important area that many agencies want to create transformation and cooperation, because this area is connected with 5 other neighboring countries. We have Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Yunnan and Guangxi province of China in the common use and conservation of the resources. The government policies of Thailand and concrete community development planning system will help eradicate poverty. However, in many areas in the northeastern and northern region of Thailand, where the statistics of Thailand show that the population in this area has the lowest income compared to other areas in the country. These areas still need research to improve the people poverty in this time. The growth of Thailand tourism section has diversified the local income and expanded employment opportunity in small rural areas. Ecotourism marketing and sustainable tourism are another form of marketing activities, especially promoted by the Thai government to create an prosperity and stimulate for trade and investment in the rural areas. The importance of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goal of the UN, and the importance from the Thai government to bring this concept, to bring this international policy to apply to develop in Thailand right now. The concept and theory of this research, including tourism marketing and public relations, the concept about development, communication, diffusion of innovation of Everett M. Rogers, cultural and tourism communication, and sustainability development. And we have applied the 12 policies implications of this sustainable tourism agenda of UNEP WTO to investigate this research. And the objective of this research about to study the communication factors affecting the development of cultural tourist attraction in Thailand, Mekong, Riverside provinces, to study the strategy used in the communication for cultural tourism attraction and development in the Mekong, Riverside of Thailand, and to study the communication, the pattern to develop tourist attraction in Thailand, and how the, for example, in this research, for example, community group are similar or different from another area of Thailand. The methodology, this research was divided into two parts. The first part is about the in-depth interview. We focus on the interview for experts and opinion leaders from four simple groups. And another methodology is content analysis. We use by using a keyword to collect information of four communities. The keywords are the community names, part province name in Thai language, with online news and articles by selecting a specific community symbol into two groups. Are as follows. The first one is the Thailand Village Academy, and the second one is the OTOP Village project of the Thai government. We collect two symbols from the Thailand Village Academy project. The first one is Banterng community in the Mukdahan province. Mukdahan province is the northeastern of Thailand. Khemarat community is in Ubon Ratchathani province in the northeastern of Thailand. And another group is OTOP Village project. We shoot the sample into two sample of the community. The first one is Patang community in Chiang Rai province. Chiang Rai province is in the northern of Thailand, and Sangor community is in the Bungkan province. Bungkan province is in the northeastern of Thailand. This community adjacent to the Mekong River. And the data collection has been collecting from the 1st of January 2019 to at the end of December of 2019, including the total is around 1 year. For the result, we found that community leader and the media run the tourism development in Thailand. We found that community leaders play an important role in bringing prosperity into the local communities. The people in communities still have the development and training skill to promote cultural tourism and economic prosperity and promote business jobs within the community from the entry of the tourist. Community leaders have also realized the importance of tourist safety because they have put a good management system. For example, writing installed along the corridor, complaint hotline, and the police office come to check in the area every hours. In addition, the community leader gave an example for social equality within the community by villagers, which has divided work together to do and follow the duties to promote community tourism. And another result, media has very important in this research. For example, in Banterng community, Banterng has been presented to the media by famous influencer in Thailand. The media presented community cultural story to the public. And in addition, the travel website such as Facebook groups, Facebook pages also features all of the community sample in this research. While the media presented the most content of Kemerat community, Banterng, and Sengop community in the social cultural dimension, the most topic presented by all of the sample were economic viability, local prosperity, and cultural richness. While the media presented the least topic was the local control and social equality respectively. And another result, we found that government campaign play an important role to develop the local tourism in Thailand. The first one in the Thailand Village Academy project, we found that the main communication strategy for tourism promotion under the Thailand Village Academy is to use the website as a database source. Nearly all Too Simple has their own official website. However, the website also creates social networking sites such as the Facebook page, such as the Banpu Facebook page, Kemerat, Instagram, and Facebook page to communicate with the public both in Thai and English language. The government also allowed the community to come up with a project to promote cultural tourism and communicate with the foreign tourists. There are many events, calendar, and activities. The beauty picture of the community, major attractions, travel map, community list the contact information via the any channel of the social media in Thailand. And the second one, in the OTOP Village project, we found that the main communication strategy to promote tourism under the OTOP Village project of Too Simple community OTOP Village official website as well, where the website contains the information on the physical characteristic of the community, the highlight the importance of tourist attraction, along with the photos of the attraction. Event calendar also have been expanded to major social media, such as the Facebook official page. However, the main communication channel of Banterng through the OTOP Village website, there is only basic information about the community and a video clip created by the government program, which has the main channel on YouTube. This is the overview of this research. We can look at the left. We see the tourist attraction. We capturing the destination concept to identify the tourism marketing. In this research group, we found that communication for sustainable tourism that we apply from the concept and theory in the 3 dimensions. The first one is economic, the second one is socio-cultural, and the third one is the environmental. Economic include the economic viability, social prosperity, employment quality, and socio-cultural. We found the social equality, visitor fulfillment, local control, community well-being, and cultural richness. And in the environmental dimension, we found the physical integrity, biological diversity of the community, resource efficiency, and the environment purity of the community. This will be and apply to the national policy of the UN, like the first goal of the UN Sustainable Development Goal in 2030 of this concept. The first goal that describe about the no poverty of the how to develop country to promote the sustainable development in many areas around the world. The conclusion, we found that the key communication factor affecting the cultural tourism, development of tourism, tourist attractions along the Mekong province is to support of resources and public relations from the relevant agencies related to Thailand tourism, namely many sectors of the Thai government, such as development of the cultural promotion, Ministry of Culture, Tourism Authority of Thailand, and Department of Community Development as well. The media and community leaders as influencers play an important role in presenting the content presentation of the 4 major tourist attractions in this research regarding the community communication strategy to develop cultural tourism site at the Mekong Riverside province that give a community the power to drive concrete activities. Through official channels, which are website, the 4 community also have other channels, such as cooperating with the government, organizing exhibition in the shopping area center, using social media to reach the new generation, such as the teenagers around 16 to 18, and disseminating community activities. And the recommendation, I could recommend some topic that very important to the next paper and the next research. The first one is, according to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal strategy to eradicate poverty, this requires the integration and coordination of the government, local and community agency to actively promote and develop the tourist market by taking into account of 12 key indicators of this research, which look at the overall picture of the economic, society, and culture. This research will lead to sustainable development, and the concept of the first goal of the Sustainable Development Goal, no poverty, according to the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Those who are interested in this research may apply this topic to study in the other area, such as the comparative research in the region and between regions should be considered to further study more effective way to eradicate regional poverty. This is some case of the Thai community by using and apply the concept of the Sustainable Development Goal by the United Nations. Thank you so much. Let me stop my presentation.
Thank you, Teerati, for the very interesting presentation that you have shown us. And of course, if the participants want to pose a question, please do that in the chat box. In the meanwhile, although I am not, yeah, we have already the first question, Margarita.
Hello, thank you, Professor Veglis. Congratulations, Professor Teerati, for your presentation. I would just like a small explanation, because at the beginning you said that the regions that you have chosen for your study are not able to have an official website, and it's only the government that provides that. Can you explain this a little bit more?
Thank you so much for the question. This question is very important. In this research, we use the methodology. The second one that I told that the content analysis is very important. We should document analysis via the government website, and the community website. Actually, in Thailand, in this time, we for this sample, we found only website from the government and the official website by that created by the community, not from the government website. This is the focus of my research. Thank you.
Okay, but are they able to create their own websites, or?
Yes, they create their own website, not
Mhm.
the government, not any activity with them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so in the meantime, while waiting for any other questions or in person or through the chat, I would like to ask what effects has the pandemic on the tourist industry in Thailand? And if after the pandemic, they will be able to hit the goals, as you have mentioned by the UN, about 2030.
Thank you so much. In this time, Thailand not join the co-vaccine. We have only vaccination. The first one is Sinovac, and the second one is AstraZeneca. And right now, we have helping from the United States of America, important the Pfizer, and another one is Moderna. And this time in Thailand is very crisis. Today we have around 17,000 for the new case of the coronavirus in Thailand, and we die around 100 per day. Very important and very crisis. The government, they find a way to improve this crisis, to ask in the international community like UN to join the COVAX. We have in Thailand, we have the ASEAN community is the group of the member country like a unit like a EU of the European. This time we are waiting for the vaccine, and I have vaccinated the first dose of AstraZeneca and waiting for the next month to get the second dose. I hope I will get it. But many people in Thailand, around 90%, we are waiting for the vaccine. Thank you so much.
What about the percentage of tourism that you are getting this year in comparison with the pro-COVID era? For example, in 2019, in Greece, we hope that we will be able to hit the 50% of tourists in 2021 in relation to 2019. What about Thailand? What are the predictions?
For the tourism section, this time the government announced the policy to freezing any area, any activity for tourism in Thailand. We once again 2 weeks ago in Thailand, we shut down the Bangkok. The Bangkok is the metropolitan of Thailand, and yesterday the government just announcement the make more lockdown around 20 provinces to shut down and stop the COVID-19, and we have a crisis situation and cannot.
So you are in the pandemic. You are not out. You are still in the pandemic. So we have Argyro Kefala who wants to ask a question. Argyro, the floor is yours.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Teerati, for your interesting presentation. I like very much the fact that you focused your analysis on sustainability, because it makes perfect sense in this part of the world. And I was thinking to what extent you can make the connection between this concept of being against poverty, developing those local communities, with the concept of destination branding. So if you can do destination branding based on sustainability, and then look also at the overall nation branding for Thailand, and see to what extent this can influence the overall brand, or if this is something completely different. I mean, in developing a more positive brand, and also it would be interesting to look at some issues of cross-cultural communication, focusing on your target audiences. So I don't know if you have an analysis of your target audiences in your paper. But I think this will be very helpful, because then you can develop a very strong communication message for your campaign. So also it was very good that you use influencers, the community leaders, but then if you want to attract the attention of, of the global public, then it will be very good to incorporate some ideas regarding, aspects of cross-cultural communication and make this brand more successful to the rest of the world. But overall, it was a very interesting presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agro, for the recommendation. And my English is not my first language. Excuse for any mistake.
Sorry to interrupt, Argiro. You could also say a little bit more about you, that you are in Diri, your position, so that we can meet. And I say this for all the conference, that when we ask questions, it would be nice to do so, because the participants are from different countries and different universities.
Okay, I'm a professor of communication. I'm the program coordinator for the master's degree in strategic communication and public relations at DRI. So this is in my field of experience, because this is about public relations. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a question in the chat room from Begum. Is there any reason for choosing this specific river? Thank you again.
Yes, the specific river is Mekong River, the Mekong River. I will type for you.
Yeah, I believe, although I'm familiar with that, I think it's one of the main attractions in Thailand. And I think it is a river that is shared by many other countries. So this can be a hub for creating joint tourism activities.
Thank you, Andreas.
So any other questions? So thank you again. Thank you, Teerati, for your presentation. Thank you all participants for attending this small session. And Margarita, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, everybody. So we'll take a little bigger break than organized, and we will continue our next session on time. So 10:30 Greek time. Thank you, everybody, and see you in a while.
Just one question, Margarita. We are going to meet again in this, because they are joint sessions. We are going to meet again in this room.
Yes.
And then we will break out.
Luis?
I was about to talk before going into the break. So basically today we had two joint sessions. Let me just share the slide. And we decided to put the joint session in breakout rooms. There will be 4 breakout rooms, usually in the conference: Plaka, Syntagma, Monastiraki, and Acropoli. But for today, we will only use the room Plaka for the session 7, and the room Syntagma for the session 8. So for this specific conference, these 2 rooms will be used, and normally aside a panelist and chairperson, every participant from the conference are allowed to navigate from room to room. So if you want to attend, I don't know, like the first presentation from the session 7 and the last session from the session 8, you should be able, as a participant, to go from room Plaka to room Syntagma. All panelists also should be able to screen share the PowerPoint presentation from their computer. If you are not able to share your presentation, please send us your presentation on the chat so we can directly send it to the chairperson. And the chairperson from every session should be also able to record the session of what they are heading into their own computer, because we're actually recording the conference through the cloud, but we can't record joint session in breakout rooms. So it should be possible for all chairperson responsible for each session to record the session in their computer, and then they can send us the file to info@coming.gr. So that was the main information of the joint session. So we will take a music break now, and then we should come back, I guess, at
10:30 Greek time. And so we have Tony, Argyro, Evangelia, Iliana at the room Plaka, as the program is indicated, to present. So I'm talking about the presenters, and Emilia Thuraya, that I have not seen yet, Veglis that is here, and Elena that is here at the room Syntagma, with Karl Henk-Ponger, who will also
You cut your microphone, Margarita. We can't hear you. The microphone is muted.
Thank you, Karl. Thank you. So thank you for two wonderful parallel sessions. Great themes, a great interaction. Thank you all. And let's use this 30 minutes left until we have the lunch break to discuss about something quite important as well, fake news in the pandemic. So we have three proposals as key questions. What are the effects of fake news during the pandemic? We discussed a little bit at the beginning of today's conference. How do we treat this war of misinformation? Practices to follow and to avoid? Do we inform, and how we inform about the consequences to our students, to the young people, to other people? And if yes, how? So who would like to say something about this, especially teenagers and our students are called, I think, it's my personal opinion, and this is what we also discussed in the session previously, should be informed about this, the impact of misinformation, fake news, or whatever name we would like to give. Yes, Begum?
Thank you. Hello, everyone from Istanbul. I just want to quickly answer the first question. What are the effects of fake news during the pandemic? I think one of the major effects is about the people's reaction towards the vaccines. There is a great number of people, as far as I am following from the news, they are against vaccines. For example, in France, there were big protests. The people clashed with the police forces. I think this is mainly resulting from the fake news about the vaccines, because I don't think that vaccines, will be harmful to our body, but on the contrary, it I think helps us to, stay healthy. But this is my own opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Begum. Who would like to? Yes, Karl. Your microphone is not.
Okay, I try once more. So,
Yeah.
so I want to follow up what Begum said, because in my opinion, okay, it starts maybe with fake news, but what is the next step? The next step is that many people only read those news they want to read in their bubble, or the algorithm is going up in their social media. So of course, fake news, or I would say misinformation mostly, or not information, or de-information sometimes, is part of the problem. But the next step is also a problem. As you said, Margarita, for example, don't answer to fake news, don't comment them, because then they go up in the algorithm. And please don't share them. And so on and so forth. And I think this is a lesson that teenagers understand, just given the fact that it may be a fake news, a misinformation, or even worse, about themselves.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Yes, not to share is the first thing I suppose we should do. So if we are not 100% sure that an information, especially when it is an information that could harm other people, and we are able to judge this, first of all, we shouldn't do it ourselves, and then maybe inform our students. Yes, Evangelos.
I would like to add that there is something important which is called media literacy. And I think that in a lot of countries, such as Greece, it is absent. A lot of people, elderly and not only, do not know how to behave in social media, through the web, or what to read and what it is true and what it is not true. I think that our behavior towards news and the public sphere should be taught at schools. How do we react? How do we perceive news? What is our potential against all this? I think that media literacy is a key element and should be introduced in education. This is my remark.
Yes, thank you very much, Veglis. And this is also a little bit what we discussed earlier about other important things having to do with such themes of internet use and how and when and etc. And this is very important. Yes, Argiro.
Yes, I think just to follow up on what Evangelos and Carl have said, yes, I fully agree that we're doing very little as a society. I mean, at the level of the government, at the level of educational institutions, to inform the people about all the harmful effects of fake news. We have seen I mean, some of these effects during the pandemic in the form of all the spread of fake news. There has been a recent report on The Guardian and the New York Times regarding the fact that only 12 top influential people were responsible for spreading misinformation and disinformation regarding vaccines, all the anti-vax movement. So I'm just wondering, you know, if they're just 12 people, you know, because they have millions of followers, they're responsible for this. What are we doing? I mean, not just at the level of the government, the level of nonprofits, the level of education. So if you ask me personally as an educator what I do, I want to stress the importance of media literacy that Evangelos mentioned before. I try to teach this in my classes. I have been teaching crisis communication management, so I have devoted a large part of my classes discussing conspiracy theories and fake news, trying to deconstruct, trying to inform, trying to guide them how to seek more reliable and trustworthy information. But overall, I think that we should do much more in that area because fake news are killing people. I mean, we saw this in the States and we're seeing this today with the anti-vax movement in several countries here in Europe. So I wish that we could do more in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Argiro, and I couldn't agree more. And Luis?
Yeah, I would like to add something on the effect on the fake news, especially in the US. And I think Steen mentioned in the chat that the first person who actually introduced the term fake news was Donald Trump when he was even before he was the president of the US. And there's a strong influence on communication toward people. Let me explain my proposal. In France, for example, the majority of the media are acquired by the state, either directly by the state or intermediately by the state, like a private company with, let's say, the majority of the action shared by the state. And in some way, the state is trying to control the information because they know that information is power. And we seen in France, for example, and I think this is the same example for many countries, that there's a new wave of information hub, information support, like freelance journalism, in order to counterpart this effect of the influence from the power from the regime in place on only giving what they want the people to hear. And there's already this war of information between what the state want the people to understand and what we really need to understand. And I think this is the main basics on what is happening today about fake news. Now, speaking on the pandemic, I think people should be able to, let's say, find their own information and try to give their own opinion on what is going on about the pandemic, because we have two extremes. We had one extreme pro-vaccine, we had one extreme anti-vaccine, but we need to understand if the vaccine will be benefit for me or not. Me personally, I'm vaccinated because as you, I'm a teacher, I'm an academic. I spent the whole year teaching online. It was benefits for some, it wasn't benefit for some. And we decided in my university to go back to face-to-face teaching, because we have seen many drawbacks from the online teaching. We had so many dropouts this year. We had like 1,000 students, and 20% of our students actually drop out the studies, mainly because they didn't get this social interaction on class. But this is about teaching. So mainly about pandemic, I think people must be able to find their own information and try to give their own opinions, regardless on what the information the media is giving as information. So this is my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Yes, Carl?
To go further on, Luis, first of all, a comment on what you said about the state-owned, state-subsidized, and so on and so forth. Today, Google is not state-owned. Neither is Zoom, neither is MS Teams, neither is Facebook, neither is WhatsApp. Okay, some of the Chinese platforms are state-owned. So we have, and this is another problem, how to kind of govern those multinational owners of the digital highways. So if they would own our motorways, everybody would protest. But when it comes to the data, there is a lot of silence, besides the EU commissioner, the Danish one. So that was just a remark. But what you said about people have the right to have their own, voice their own opinions. I totally agree on that. People have also the right for information. That's not the problem, it's too much information. And here comes media literacy in. And the other challenge, in my humble opinion, is that I think it's mostly about that people have the right to make their own decisions. That's the most important one. And then number 3 is they can air, of course, their opinions, but please let it be opinions and not information or journalism or whatever. Opinions is very different. And there is a big confusion when what is going on the web, what is going on in the social media, on websites, and at influencers' accounts. A big confusion, what is opinion and what is information. Not talking about facts at all. So, yeah. So go back to the declaration. If it is an ad, if it is an opinion, maybe bought by somebody else, financed by somebody else, or when it is your own opinion and when it is an information.
Yes.
Yeah, I can totally agree on what you said, and what you said about Google, Facebook, and etc. It's also true, and I think even though they are not state-owned, they still play as a small intermediate for the state. They do not emphasize this aspect on the public, but you kind of see the influence of the state depending on the practice they're using when it comes to data or when it comes to information diffusion. So what you said is totally true, and I totally agree on that.
Okay, yes, I also agree with everything said. Elpida, you have something to add?
Hello. Yes, thank you. I totally agree with.
Present yourself first.
Okay.
Elpida.
I am Elpida Sklika. I also live in France. I have a PhD from the University of Strasbourg, where I work as a lecturer, as a teaching fellow in linguistics. Okay. So I agree, of course, with all your opinions, but I think a problem is that Google or the internet in general or social media could be better with, no, not controlled, but better to educate younger students or younger children. But what about the classical means of media, like television, for example? And there, for example, in France, I haven't seen such terrorizing like in Greece, because now I'm in Greece. And I find that they are really terrorizing people with the pandemic. I think it's a bit different. So for all the people, it's difficult to judge or to choose. Of course, it's their decision, but how to help them? I mean, on the radio, television, I'm not sure.
So what you heard in France, Elpida, about what is happening in Greece?
No, in France, when I was in France, 2 weeks ago, I thought that, okay, there's a huge problem everywhere, even in Greece, but I didn't think that the anti-vaccine movement was such a problem. I'm not sure. I think in France, they also have a huge problem with that. But here, every day on the television, they talk all the time about that. They manifest. So I think it's a bit terrorizing.
So we have a solution, not to look at the television.
Yes,
not to use, this machine called television.
Yes. If I may, I can totally agree on what Elpida say about the vaccine movement, and I think in France, don't forget we are the majority. The majority of the population is over 50, and they used to watch television, especially main channels such as France Info or BFM TV, which are we had like a 24 hours information channel. So they mostly are feeding on those monsters in order to understand what is going on into the country. And most of the population also, I would say something I'm French, I love my country, but most of my population are not quite educated. When I say not quite educated, I talk about the willing to go further what the information channel, the media is giving as information. I live with my grandma, and my grandma is based in France since forever, and we have very, let's say, extreme opinion on what is going on in our same city, in the same house we are living. I will have one opinion on the vaccine, on the positivity or the negativity of the vaccine, and she will have another opinion the extreme way from mine. And it is totally based on the fact that she's feeding on those type of information channels such as France Info and BFM TV. And I think the problem in France is also this, like, be able to construct their own opinion, as Carl said, and to voice this opinion on saying, okay, we live in the country where the crisis is global. How can we as a country find a solution in order to go through this crisis? I think Elpida left France 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you left France 2 weeks ago. So when you left, they start doing movement in Paris about the anti-vaccine, like because the President Macron decided to either people, in order to go out and enjoy life, will either be vaccine or they will not be able to entering the mall and stuff. But the reality in this decision is not about taking the vaccine. It was about having the ability to prove that you are not, let's say, contagious. You are not COVID contaminated. So either you will be able to provide a vaccine certification, or you can just provide something that shows that you are not contaminated. So that was the main decision from the president. But the majority of the anti-vax population focus on the vaccine. They do not focus on the ability to show that I'm not contaminated. They mostly focus on the vaccine. And that's kind of biased the whole campaign about be able to move on to life, especially in this country where vaccines are available. I come from a country where vaccines are not available, and they struggle to get one suitable vaccine. And it is really, I say it's a shame, because, I mean, we had other possibility here, but we can't really use this possibility in order to go further. And that would be my opinion on that.
Well, thank you, Luis. And before I because they are Argiro and Veglis already waiting, just a comment about my personal view about vaccination, since we are referring to this very crucial theme. The negative is maybe that the government, at least in Greece, has made a big deal about this, a huge deal about this. So this is also have to do with how the information was given, was performed, how the journalists reacted, how everything, the interaction of everything. So many people, for example, I am vaccinated, I did the AstraZeneca, and the day there was a huge problem with this vaccine, and the day I was vaccinated, I heard that a woman in Greece of 44 years old with 2 kids died in her sleep. So I said to myself as well, should I sleep now or should I stay awake? I mean, anyway, yes, Argiro?
Okay, I think Evangelos raised his hand first.
Yes, Evangelos and Carl are waiting.
No, I lowered my hand, I was covered.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to say that in several countries, this kind of anti-vax movement, conspiracy theories, fake news are also associated. I think we should look at this also through populist movements in several countries. So they are associated to populism. I mean, we can see this also in France, Marine Le Pen, or other groups. We can see also this in the US with what happened with Donald Trump. I just want to say that, like, not a few days, perhaps it was 2 or 3 weeks, when the current president of the US, I mean, Joe Biden, made a very bold statement saying that Facebook is killing people. So this is a very strong statement, I mean, to come from the US president. But then the question is, what is next? So yes, it's important, I mean, to come this from, I mean, this kind of statement, but then what is the strategy? How do we deal with this? Which means that at the level of the country, at the level of other institutions or the CDC or other health authorities, we have to do more when it comes, especially when it comes to fake news and conspiracy theories around the pandemic. So yes, so we have to look at the broader picture also, because we do have, I mean, populist movements which are questioning not just the vaccines, but they're questioning the institutions of liberal democracy. So I just wanted to add this parameter to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Argyro. And Carl?
Yeah, it's actually not only movements, unfortunately. It's parties that are chosen to the parliaments. So that's the first one. The second one is about public service. Maybe we should reinvent or whatever, revisit at least the idea of public service media that have the opportunity and even they have to do to enlighten people, to help them to get to their own decisions. And I think if the problem is that if there is a public service at all, then they are following more and more the market, let's say, laws, the laws of the market, of the media market, of the news market. And it's not only news we are talking about. That is another problem. It's not only fake news or misinformation in news. It's also in every communication that is going on. So why, even if we are laymen, if we are experts, if we are politicians, if we are citizens, whatever, it's overall it's going on. It's not only news. And even what is news nowadays? So it's hard to say what is the genre news. So is it really only information, or is it also sensation, or is it even entertainment? So so public service as real public service should be revisited, rethought maybe, and maybe with a little bit control of those people that are engaged in citizen journalism, because those are not the fake news people normally, or the misinformation people. They just want to add another perspective, and perspectives are good. This is what democracy is about. And then the last one is that even the serious journalists, whatever they are, if they still exist, they nowadays, what do they do? Where do they start their research? Many start their research by checking their social media. Is there a story in the social media? And why is a story in the social media? It's not because it is important. It has other reasons. And then they follow up there. Many of the, you were talking about crisis communication, right? Many of the crises, they start in the social media. But first, when the communication about the crisis starts, it's a crisis.
Okay, totally. We all agree. And this is basically very important as well. Do we have any other comment or question as the last one before we close to have lunch and meet again 20 minutes before 2 Greek time for the poster session, where I have already sent a link and you can click and comment on the 4 posters we have? Okay, we can then say we will meet in about an hour after the lunch break.